Okay, here we go. So some people may still be doing the quiz online. It's open up until 11 o'clock, closes, so yeah. See how everybody did once it all closes. So, big news coming up for next week. So we have an industry news presentation, which is a really not that complicated thing. Basically, what I'd like you to do is to look around for a news article concerning some part of the industry and summarize it within a minute so that you can say it to the class. And you know how we do those presentations here, you get a hand mic and you talk. So we want you to be able to deliver this, you know, in a clear and coherent fashion without taking 5 minutes to get it together. So that's why I ask, you know, when you, we're going to start the class. If you want to step out, you can continue your conversation. It's fine. It's just distracting. So you basically have been sorted into a group. Just go to the home page, click on the discussion. You'll get to your group. I'm in a, you know, basically everyone's being sorted into a group by different industry topics, basically. So Katerina, bless her heart, has already jumped in, and she was sorted into the radio group. So basically, you know, go to the home page, click on that link, and you'll find yourself in a group which is assigned to report on some part of the industry. Might be radio, might be streaming audio, might be streaming video and over the top, might be cable, might be old school broadcast television. So looking at what Katerina got sorted into the radio group. And so let's take a look at what it tells you to do. So please prepare a 1-minute presentation summarizing an important event in the radio industry. She's in the radio industry. You may find yourself in something else, and I would love it if you looked now and found out where you are so you could ask me any questions about it. Each member of this team will summarize and present one story. So, you know, your job is to look for a story about the radio industry. Search for a recent news article about one of the major companies in this industry. So for each of your topics, I pulled out the main companies. So iHeartRadio, Cumulus, Sirius XM, NPR, or Entercom. And it could be other big players in the radio industry or in whatever part of the industry you have dropped into, okay? So you should, just a couple of guidelines, because this is news. The article that you find shouldn't be more than 2 years old, okay? Because then it's not news anymore, it's ancient history. Number 2, it should be newsworthy. So you want to write, summarize an article which is about something important. So a major event, such as a big company, a company being sold or buying another one, entering a new business like streaming, or launching a new product or series if you're on broadcast television or radio, for instance. It should be reliable, so from a newspaper, a trade magazine, or another respected news source. So typically if you Google around for results about, you know, iHeartRadio news, the best results, the top results will usually be from trade magazines or newspapers. So this will probably be worked out for you by the Google algorithm, but just make sure that it's not Joe Blow's media blog or something like that. You should be seeing some kind of publication that looks like a real news source, you know? It doesn't have to be the New York Times, it could be, you know, Vox or Vulture or, you know, one of the many online sources, but make sure you're writing about or summarizing something that it is about electronic media, right? If you decide, you know, you get the Disney company, don't tell me that there's a new theme park going to be opening up or there's a new ride in a theme park. Disney owns ABC. They own a bunch of streaming services. So report on that. You know, don't choose something which is hotels or billboards. Choose electronic media. It shouldn't be hard. And finally, unique, just make sure nobody else in your group is doing this story. And that's why I put you into a discussion group, so you can just let everybody in your group know what it is that you're covering. So then it's pretty easy. You just summarize the news story, and you obviously write it because you can't riff on this off your top of your head. So summarize it, and then make sure it lasts a minute. And on November 15th, we'll just stand up and you'll give your news summary, and we'll talk about it in class, right? So it should really be a minute, not more. So make it efficient. Tell us who did what, when, and how, and that's it. So Katerina has given us a great example. She found herself in the radio group. She went looking. She says, I'll be using information from The Verge. She gives us the link so that the people in her group know, okay, I don't want to actually do that, summarize that article. And she says what she's covering is iHeartRadio, some things going on for iHeartRadio and potential purchase or something like that. So that's what she needs to do. And then on November 15th, she'll just tell us the news.
If we get an article and it's like, can two people use it, or if you don't want it?
I don't want everybody doing the same thing. So usually what happens is the top 3 searches in Google, everyone picks the first one because they don't bother looking at the 5th one. So that's why, what I suggest is go into the thing right away, then you get to pick whatever you want, right? The people who come after you shouldn't duplicate you. That's basically it. So the sooner you jump in and see which one you're doing, the better. You just get to pick whatever you want. So looking through on number 2, News Team 2, show more, thank you, let's show this to me. So Team 2 is doing the streaming audio industry. So then they'd be looking at Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, SoundCloud, Google Play, Amazon Music, and of course any other company that I may have forgotten about, but that you think is big and important there. So that's the streaming audio. We can show more. What's this team working on? This team is working on the network TV industry, so CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, the CW, Univision. So just looking for news about them. Again, most of them are starting streaming operations, so that would be very important news about them. That would be useful. The next one is cable. So here, the cable group could be talking either about cable services like Comcast, Time Warner, or they could be talking about cable channels like CNN, HBO, FX, Showtime, Fox News. So cable is really wide open. Okay, So that's it. I won't bother you with what all the other ones are, but you'll find yourself sorted into a group, and so Joe, you don't sound well. Sorry about that. So and then what's due at the time of the presentation is you basically come in and do your presentation, and then just upload the write-up that you did. It doesn't have to be like a superscript or anything. You're summarizing, and you want it to say the essential in a minute. So, and there's an example up here, of just, it looks kind of long, but it's not. It's like basically, it reprints the New York Times thing. And so, yeah, here's an example of what you could do. So here's my script. On August 15th, the New York Times reported that Sony will begin streaming Viacom's popular cable TV programs like SpongeBob SquarePants onto its new internet pay TV service. It's the first deal of its kind involving a major TV programmer and a tech company. This puts Sony into the lead in the fledgling field of streaming that includes the likes of video-on-demand providers like Netflix and Amazon. And it puts them up against cable giants like Time Warner. Analysts speculated that Viacom announced the deal now to put more pressure on Time Warner to pay the higher cable carriage fees demanded by Viacom's sister company CBS. No matter what sealed the deal, expect to see Viacom programs on the PlayStation by year end. And you put the source down there. So all of that information was in the source. I didn't have to look it up anywhere else. So you just summarize what you get from a good article like that. Okay, so any questions? Really, the first thing to do is just click on see the discussion for your topic, basically. Did anyone else go in and look yet? William, what are you covering?
OTT services.
Oh, that's fun. So that would be Hulu and any of those ones. Yeah, that's great. Anybody else look at Gordon? Are you looking into it? Or?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm glad. I just want to make sure everyone has a clear idea. You can ask any questions you like.
So you submit it on Canvas when you're done? You don't submit
Yeah, and you'll have like a week. Yeah, you'll have a week after the presentation just to bang it up. Yeah.
Can you read it off?
You can definitely read it off. You can hold your script and just read it out. That's probably better than standing up and yeah. I'd much rather you read off the script. Yeah. Desiree, do you know which one you're covering?
Yeah, the social media industry.
Cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Good. And so just click on the discussion. And you'll find yourself like the first post in there. I put in like what you guys will be doing. Okay. Michaela, did you find it?
I'm clicking the link, but I'm not sure where to look for like the exact.
Did you click discussion?
Too. The red text in one of the paragraphs tells you which one you're looking at.
Right.
Yeah. It took me a second to figure that out too.
So like, since I couldn't name the actual groups, which is a limitation of Canvas, basically you got to look down to the second paragraph. Well, it says here cable TV industry, and then it gives you like, again, it's not an exhaustive list. There are many other cable channels that you might want to report on or something like that. So, did you find it, Michaela?
I don't think it's working.
Oh, let's see. Because what I don't want is for you guys to go away and over the weekend it's like, hey, I can't make this work. Because as soon as you know what you need to work on, you're fine. Are you on the home page? No. Oh, okay. So, whoa. I don't know. Can you get to just the home page of the site? Yeah.
Would it be easier like on a computer? Like should I go?
No, maybe, but I'm sure if you're just on the front page of the home page of
This is the campus app. So
Oh yeah, okay. So dashboard, and then so which? Let's just see. Whoops. Sorry.
I was
I don't know how to use it. So hang on. Let's see here. Let's see Team 8. I have a feeling there's like one that I didn't seed properly or something. Well, there's something in each one of them. So Michaela, let's put it this way, and Michaela or anybody else who may be streaming, if this doesn't work for you, then you get a wild card. Do it on whatever part of the electronic media industry that you're part of. But I have a feeling I don't know why you're not seeing that reply, because everyone else should be. Anyhow. So if this doesn't work for you, you get a wild card, you get to pick what you want. Okay. Sorry about that.
all this technology doesn't even work right.
Well, we're so encouraged. One of the big things that we're encouraged to do in a class like this where not everybody is here is to get people discussing and stuff like that. So the idea that we could, have a discussion group and people could get ready for something they need to do together seems nice, but then if you can't see it, you can't see it, right? We'll give it a try on a computer, and not everyone has access, but yeah, give it a try on a computer, see what's happening. Okay, another thing which might be great for you folks is the extra credits that are out there, right? So remember that there are 4 extra credit assignments that are rolling out here in the month of November, basically. So I don't want these done at the very last minute, so you have to turn them in on time. But you can make a total of 100 points of extra credit by doing some of these extra credit assignments. So I was very glad to see 5 people did the one last week about audience measurement. This week, because this is our topic, we have one about social media. So if you write 250 words, you could get up to 25 points. If you write 500 words, you could get up to 50 points of extra credit here. So what should we do? Let's take a look at this one for this week, which is due by Sunday, I think. If you feel like writing this, November 11th. Yeah. So discuss the pros and cons and implications of the proliferation of social networking tools, in other words, social media, used in news reporting, such as blogs, Facebook, YouTube, Reddit, Twitter. These so-called news sources have been credited with becoming a primary news source for many in younger demographic groups. That means it tends to be younger people who use these sources, because the older folks are still getting their newspapers thrown by little kids on tricycles onto their front porch, and they pick them up and they sit there for 3-hour breakfasts and read their newspapers. Are these the new channels of news distribution, merely a trend, or something else entirely? Is the news you get through social media recommendations true? How would you deal with improving the quality of such news if you were in charge at Instagram, for instance, which has a new challenge being faced, all right? So you may feel like writing on that topic. Basically, this could be an interesting topic to write on. We got some videos here. Let's just watch this one. I didn't watch these in advance, but I thought, hey, this would be pretty good. This is from NPR.
For the web is disrupting traditional models and creating new ones. Judy Woodruff has our conversation, which she recorded recently.
These days, online ventures are attracting big names from what was the traditional world of news media, and the landscape is shifting ever more quickly. The most recent move, Ezra Klein, formerly of the Washington Post, and his popular Wonk blog site, is developing a new website for deep and explanatory style journalism. That follows Nate Silver, taking his popular 538 blog to ESPN from the New York Times, and the founders of the Wall Street Journal's All Things Digital brand creating their own new site, Recode, backed by NBC Universal and others. And this is just to name a handful. We look at what this means for journalism and what's behind it with Jim Bankoff. He's the chairman and CEO of Vox Media, which will publish the new Ezra Klein Project X.
Seems very dated. Does anybody actually follow Vox and Ezra Klein and stuff? Yeah, it's like it is like a totally 100% happening news source with tons of podcasts and stuff. Yeah, so this feels a little out of date to me. Let's try this one, which is from just like a few days ago on NBC. So let's see.
I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory.
I thought Trump did a great job as a campaigner. You know, I think he tapped into fear and loathing. But the fact of the matter is, something happened on Facebook that influenced the election, and we're just never going to know whether it tipped the scales.
We actually did some reporting back in October of 2016 where we looked at ad targeting.
But who did you target here?
So this ad group.
And there was this one political consulting firm in Richmond, Virginia, and they showed us exactly how you could target by zip code, by interest, and it was nothing nefarious at the time. And so we filed that story for the Today Show. And I remember thinking to myself, this could probably be misused. I wonder what's going on. So we revisited it after the election and we realized, wow, this is exactly what happened.
If you look at the troll content, you'll see at the very beginning of their efforts to woo the conservative Christian constituency, you'll see appeals that just simply say, do you want Jesus to win this fight with Satan, or do you want Satan to win? Press like if you want Jesus to win. Then now we've got the contest between Jesus and Hillary Clinton. Now who do you want to win?
The official name of the troll farm is the Internet Research Agency.
The Russians pretended to be Americans so they could get Americans to believe their message.
What we're talking about is the beginning of cyber warfare.
What was interesting about the content of the Russian influence operation on social media was the coordination, synchronization, and consistency of message. You don't really get that, even in the case of extremism.
You also see appeals that say veterans aren't being taken care of. Who's being taken care of? Those illegal immigrants or those refugees. Now, the implication there is the party in power is sympathetic to the immigrants and the refugees. Hillary Clinton is sympathetic, Donald Trump is not. If you invest the messages with those assumptions, then those are activating the military families, and assumption, it's not Hillary Clinton, Obama, they're not with us, is you should cast a vote for Donald Trump.
I think Vladimir Putin saw Hillary Clinton as a challenger. She was trying to advance the pro-democracy movement.
It is really hard to quantify the impact of the influence operation because it was very long running and because the social platforms simply haven't released the data on impact.
We didn't take a broad enough view of our responsibility, and that was a big mistake. It was my mistake, and I'm sorry. We found ourselves unprepared and ill-equipped for the immensity of the problems that we've acknowledged.
We've seen some of the ads. We know that that the Senate has the data set of the organic content as well. We don't have any public indication of engagement data other than that it touched 146 million people on Facebook and tens of millions on Twitter.
When you look at any one individual tweet, it might look weird, offensive on its own. It's only when you start to look at all these tweets together. We were able to collect over 200,000 of the tweets that had been deleted. That patterns start to emerge. You start to see signs of centralized talking points and coordinated activity. We hadn't really seen that online before.
The trolls, we don't know whether the people who got those were in the 3 states that ultimately decided the election: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. But we do know that there was enough messaging that was strategically aligned with the Trump messaging, and as a result was able, if it reached those voters, to have made a difference with them.
Today, WikiLeaks releasing 1,700 new stolen emails, part of a hack seized on by Republicans.
Then you had the GRU, which is another branch of Russian intelligence, and they were the ones who executed the hacks. And the material, so this is 2 separate organizations working in concert. The GRU releases these documents, the media picks them up, the American media, the trolls amplify the news stories that come out of the hack.
Private emails being exposed is like catnip for the media.
They're trying to turn the focus on the fact of the emails rather than what's inside of them.
It's very hard to resist this. And if you don't do the story, well, somebody else is going to do the story, even though I think people were aware that they were being used.
So now imagine we have a high number of undecideds coming into the end period in October with early voting happening during this entire period, and some outside force in a close election comes in and creates imbalances in the messages, more negative Clinton content than there otherwise would be. That difference can shape the outcome.
That was the day, of course, where the famous Access Hollywood tape was revealed, October 7th, which is enormously embarrassing to Trump.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the...
People were talking about he should withdraw the first WikiLeaks revelations about John Podesta's emails began to appear at the same time, almost as if to distract from this anti-Trump story.
Think for a moment that you're watching a presidential debate.
Immigration reform.
The moderator is essentially your surrogate.
I want to clear up your position on this issue because in a speech you gave to a Brazilian bank for which you were paid $225,000, we've learned from the WikiLeaks that you said this, and I want to quote, "My dream is a hemispheric common market with open trade and open borders." So that's the question.
When a moderator in a debate says that Hillary Clinton said, according to WikiLeaks, that she favored open trade and open borders, the audience watching the debate doesn't say, well, was there part of that sentence that was left out?
Well, if you went on to read the rest of the sentence, I was talking about energy
Hillary Clinton had said throughout that she didn't favor open borders, but the moderator just said that she said she did in private, which means you have a second dimension. Does she say one thing in public, I don't favor open borders, and another in private, I do? The moderator just looked as if he'd said that's what she had done.
I just think back to this so much. Like, without that hack and without those leaks, would we have gotten to this same place in terms of the conspiracy theorists on the internet? And I really don't think so.
It doesn't seem like there's a direct acknowledgement that there was a certain degree of interference or attempted interference. However, there is no measure yet that we know of exactly how much something like social media can actually sway an election. Who's to say? Who's to say? That's the problem, is we'll never know what happened. And that's exactly why they did it the way they did it, because we'll never know, and so there'll always be doubt, and we'll point to these 10 other reasons Hillary Clinton lost.
The FBI has discovered new emails pertinent to the investigation of Hillary Clinton's emails.
Among them is this. This is going to be present, and it will be an asterisk on Donald Trump's presidency for all of history.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here.
Right.
And click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.
Nice. Well, does that give you anything you might like to write about in terms of this prompt about social media and such? Well, clearly, some of this stuff is definitely influential, at least in political circles as well. Thinking about the online media that you guys used, we've had this discussion early on in the semester as well. But do you think that you're getting decent quality recommendations through social media?
I mean, I think it all depends on the quality of the content. If your opinion is swayed off of dank memes, then I really don't think you should be voting in the first place. Okay. Right. But, there's a variety of different sources available to us, I guess. So, yeah, if you're do the homework. It doesn't matter where the source is coming from. If you do the homework, then you will find the information that you're looking for.
Right. So when you say do the homework, do you think then that the responsibility falls onto the reader rather than the platform?
The responsibility is always on the voter.
Okay.
They take advantage of the fact.
Well, hang on. Let's just have Desiree, and then yeah.
I was just agreeing.
That it falls to the reader?
Yeah.
Okay. Michaela, sorry to interrupt.
I think they take advantage of the fact, like, they know not a lot of people are going to do their homework, so they'll just put it on Twitter, so while you're scrolling, you'll see it and be like, oh, maybe I will vote for this person.
So on the very bottom line there, so how would you deal with improving the quality? You figure that's not really necessary, like that you could just turn it over to people and they're responsible and that's the end of it? Or I'm not trying to, but there is a debate to be had here. William, you seem like you want to say more.
I just feel like a lot of people take the fact that social media is a new platform and shine this big spotlight on it to blame it. And I think that's wildly unfair because smear campaigns, false information, lying to the press, these are all tools that have been used in the system for generations. It's not new because of the internet.
Yeah, that's true. I guess with many fewer news outlets like there in the days of mass media, it was, the gatekeepers could control it. And probably they also had their biases and they made their mistakes for sure, and they suppressed plenty of information which now would get out there. It just pops into my mind, but it was well known that JFK was, had lots of affairs and stuff like that, but the newspapers never went there. Versus, by the time you get to Clinton, they obviously did, and now it's like just, Trump and his tape and his payoffs.
What happened in Florida when Bush was running? Like it's none of this is new.
Yeah, good point. So, well, it would be interesting to see if. So we kind of have the total hands off, let the audience ultimately be responsible, and I think it's true they are. But can the social media platforms, which apparently one of the complaints about them was that the algorithms that, I mean, you've probably all heard this anyway, but so what do you think about this complaint that the algorithms at Instagram or Facebook or whatever were surfacing more often more controversial stories because those were the things that people would share and spend more time reading or actually even click on when they came, through the news feed. And so they would rank those higher than, for instance, a boring old story from NBC or something, which wasn't phrased as controversially or stuff like that. Do you think that is, manipulating in a sense the audience that might be more,
America's
trying to do
biggest currency is trauma. It's not new because it's on the internet.
I don't know. That's an interesting point. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think that we've seen something like a Trump presidency before, but I don't know if you could blame that totally on social media for sure.
It's also different because like the times have changed dramatically. Like the way we think, the way you're allowed to think, what you can like go look for yourself, and like the type of people that are out there now. Like it's just a whole different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is interesting if you feel like writing about it. Do you guys think it's here to stay? I would tend to say, yeah. I think this is, it's kind of irreversible that news media is going to come to us this way, regardless of whether it's, finally contributes a lot to public information or not. But anyone think it's going to go away? I think it's more than a trend, yeah, for sure. It's the new way, but who knows where we're going. Yeah, so, if you feel like writing about this would be a great way to pick up some extra points. And, if for some reason the quiz didn't go too well, take advantage of this. This thing is worth 250 words here, or it's worth as much as the quiz that you just did. So I would love to see people, thinking more about this. Okay, cool. So that's what I had on the plate to do today. So again, if this formula for preparing for the industry news assignment on November 15th, next week, when we all get together, if this formula, I don't know, if this doesn't work for you technically, I'll just put up a list here of what the possible topics would be too, so that you can, grab a hold of a topic and it's all clear what you got to do. Summarize a news item in a minute, and as Chow asked, you might as well just read it, right? That's what news readers do. They're on a teleprompter or something, but you can just read it up for us. That's fine. You don't have to be shy about just reading it. If it's more efficient and less stressful for you to do it that way, that'd be absolutely great. But it always is interesting what comes out of this. We get kind of an overview of what's happening in the news about the media companies, and that's really useful. All right, thank you all. We'll see you next week. Remember, Monday is a holiday, right? There's Veterans Day. Not that we're having a class. But yeah.
So, Arska, do you want us to post it into class?
Yeah, that's, if this is working for you, yeah. Just once you find your article in that discussion, just post it, like Katerina did, so that everyone can see what's going on. Yeah. Thank you.